One night, a 17-year-old girl brings her new boyfriend home to meet her parents, and they were appalled by his appearance. Long, greasy hair, tattoos, piercing, motorcycle. The mother's very concerned. She pulls her daughter aside. She says, "Dear, this guy doesn't seem very nice. I'm a little concerned about this relationship you have with him." And the daughter says, "Oh, please, Mom, if he wasn't nice, why would he..." Now, what do you think this 17-year-old girl tells her mama right here? If he wasn't nice, why would he what? Come to meet you. Be hanging out with me. I'm a nice girl. All of those sound very plausible to the mature brain, but what this young girl says to her mom is, "Oh, Mom, please, if he wasn't nice, why would he be doing 5,000 hours of community service?" How many of you have dated a few like that? Yeah, I'll admit it. Yeah, absolutely. Let's take a look at another scenario to highlight the differences between the young and the mature brain. Young Johnny, he wasn't earning very good grades in school, so one day he surprised his teacher with an announcement. He tapped her on the shoulder and said, "My daddy says if I don't start getting better grades, somebody is going to get a spanking." Now don't say I didn't warn you, Mrs. Smith. So what do these scenarios tell us about the young brain? And we see evidence of this all the time when we work with students. We know that the brain develops from the stem forward. The last part of the brain to develop is right here. It's called the prefrontal cortex. The prefrontal cortex is responsible for all wise and judicious decisions. It is otherwise known as the executive functioning center. It's responsible for emotional regulation, impulse control, organizational skills, and analyzing cause and effect. When little Johnny does something dumb and we ask him, "Johnny, why did you make that bad choice?" what does little Johnny always say? "I don't know. I don't know." And the scary thing is he doesn't know. He's not kidding. He's got nothing. So when kids ask us, why am I in trouble? Why do I have to do this? Why can't I go to that party Friday night? They're usually not being sassy. They're trying to make a dendrite and synaptic connection in the prefrontal cortex. But we know that the prefrontal cortex has all the skills that we want students to have in order to be successful, but kids often don't have access to it until much later. So when we have policies in place, such as no late work, no retakes, that's working in direct violation of how the prefrontal cortex is established. Now, research is very clear. We can positively accelerate development in the prefrontal cortex by explicitly teaching students how to process cause and effect. So cause and effect graphic organizers in the classroom are extremely beneficial. Asking kids questions such as, "What if?" Or "If you did this, what are all the possible good things that could happen? What are all the possible bad things that could happen?" Many kids don't realize they have a choice in situations. And so cause and effect is very important for them to start analyzing what are all the good things that could happen, what are all the bad things that could happen. Explicitly teaching organizational skills, explicitly teaching kids how to identify their emotion and control their emotions, helping them to not be captive by an emotion is very valuable in creating that development in the prefrontal cortex. Now you might be wondering, okay, Blondie, so if kids are not using their prefrontal cortex, what are they using instead? That's a great question. They're using their amygdala. Now the amygdala is the survival center in the brain. It is directly responsible for fight, flight, or freeze mode. And studies show that kids use their amygdala 30 to 70% more than the mature brain does. This spells trouble for us, because this is the reason why kids have extreme emotional responses to situations that are seemingly very innocuous. And one of the reasons that kids use their amygdala so much, their in fight, flight, or freeze response so much, is because they very rarely have control over their environment. Their teachers, their preachers, their parents, their coaches are making all the decisions for them. And sometimes they don't have a lot of choice. But It's very important for us as parents and educators to provide choice whenever possible. So for example, the whole love and logic parenting training and philosophy is based on choices. Do you want cereal or eggs for breakfast? Do you want to wear these shoes or these shoes to school? Now, we're still in control of the choices, but simply by giving children a choice, that lowers their affective filter, decreases their level of stress, and it helps them to activate their prefrontal cortex. Nature versus nurture. Now, this debate has been waging on for decades. Neuroscientists now think they have it figured out in terms of which one has more influence on a child's potential for success. Is it genetics or is it environment? Turn and talk at your table. And if you were going to come up with percentages in terms of how much each one influences a child, what would the percentages be? Is it 50-50? 10-90? What are your thoughts? What are your percentage guesses? How many of you think it's 50-50? Equal influence, genetics and environment. Put your hands down, you're totally wrong. Studies are very clear, it's about 30-70. Nurture. Now this is good news for us. One, if you have procreated with an idiot, the odds are in your children's favor. Hallelujah. Now, in all seriousness, this is very important to us as parents and educators, because what this means and what the data shows is that high-performing teachers overcome the deficiencies of low-performing students almost every single time.